for Talking Dirt, and I have Tim Connolly here from Mile Wide and an Inch Deep. Is that right?
Inch.
Um, and yeah, how is your garden growing, Tim?
In fits and starts. I just thought of that today. That's my new motto. Fits and starts. I have I have 2.5 acres that is mostly grass and lawn because that's what everybody does around here. And in the
Mhm.
fall, when we landed here in the fall, there was a small garden and I stuck a spade in it and I hit no rocks and I thought, oh, this is bliss because I come from central Pennsylvania, north Pennsylvania with clay and rocks, and if I wanted to dig anything, it was a pry bar in a couple hours. And I thought, oh, this is going to be wonderful. Well, be careful what you wish for. This sandy soil is its own problems or
Yeah.
own challenges. Let's not talk about problems. It's its own challenge. And you know, um, I reached out to Christine, who was on your chat last week, and mentioned that and just the idea of this land and what it needs is one of the real things I'm getting excited about. And it needs some organic content.
Yes.
So my garden is has some real big wins. Like my garlic is going great. I just put up some scapes and pickled some scapes, and it's going great. But there's some big fails. My lettuce really didn't do anything, and some of the sunflowers that I thought would just pop up, they didn't even bloom. They didn't even come up out of the soil.
Oh,
So
that's a bummer.
yeah, so I'm learning some things about the soil and trying to add content now. But I tried everything. I tried a whole bunch of stuff. Right now, I got some tomatoes in, different kinds of tomatoes, small rows, 3 or 4 plants, aroma and cherry, because my granddaughter likes to pick those and eat them. A bigger tomato for slicing, and a couple pepper plants. I planted some carrots. I know you're a big carrot fan, and you're going to be putting your own carrots in pretty soon for the winter, and they're coming up. But some beans didn't take off. I got a few pea pods, so it's. I'm not going to post a picture saying, "Look at my lush garden," but I will post a picture and say, "No, continue to fail because that's how you learn, right?"
That's yeah, exactly. And every property is going to be different. How you said you've only been there for was a year or 2 years now, maybe?
Started in. We got here in the late summer, early fall. So around September, and it was a blank canvas other than there was a small garden here that was still producing some tomatoes. So I kept that. I dug up a massive zebra glass plant that was right in the middle of the garden. I think it was 4 feet wide by
Oh my God.
8 feet high, and I
Oh, boy.
I dug it up by hand because that's what I do. And relocated that, gave away a whole bunch of plugs, just put them out on the road, and people stop by and grab a
You
whole.
take these.
Yeah. I've got grass plugs all over this place, and some are growing. Relocated some flowers, planted some flowers along the cottage here that we're staying at. Um, and I think I put in maybe 200 bulbs of different kinds, shapes, and forms, all over. I put some squill under some apple trees. I put some hyacinth under some olive trees and things like that. So, and-
Well, that's one thing I haven't done. I really have a thing for daffodils, so it's like a missed opportunity for me. I've been here 8 years and I haven't planted any freaking bulbs.
and what you do with daffodils, they take off, you're done. They're the best.
I'm gonna have to put that on my short list for this year and just
Yeah,
make it happen.
there you go. And there's all different kinds now. So we've transplanted bulbs that we brought up from our house in Pennsylvania and have transplanted them in some irises. So they're doing well. How about
Awesome.
you?
I love that. My garden. So I finally reached a point this week where I've got enough planted where I could take a break, which was good because I caught this summer cold after I don't know how long of not being sick. Yeah, so this has been fun. But I got my I've got my spring crops all in. I'm about to start harvesting snap peas. I've been harvesting scads of lettuce. I'm trying to get customers to take it. I think I'm going to have to do a buy one, get one this week just to move this stinking lettuce. I'm like, holy, there's only so much salad one girl can eat. And Brightech is like, not overly
Understand.
enthusiastic about eating salad for dinner.
What can
Like,
you
you
do
know,
with
you get
lettuce?
some good what's that?
I said you can't pickle lettuce, you can't preserve
No,
it, right?
no, I just have to compost it if no one eats it. So I harvested a lot of it last week, so I was afraid it would bolt, and I know harvesting it fresh, I can keep it for at least 2 weeks.
Oh,
Um,
it's good to know.
so I will put a sale out this week and weekend and see if I can move it. But yeah, so after that, my tomatoes are all looking fabulous and my peppers are coming along. My squash plants, I don't know if you saw the picture where I posted where I was removing the row cover from my squash and pumpkin beds.
Yeah,
Oh my God, they look so nice. They're like
yeah, they
thin
sure
and lush. And then I went and I'm a big fan of fish emulsion. And
yeah.
so as soon as I pulled the row cover, because it is absorbed through the leaves in your plants. I didn't know if you know that.
No, I did
It's
not.
a Yeah, it's a foliage feeder, and so especially things with those broad leaves like pumpkins and squashes and cucumbers, like you want but you gotta make sure you do it I know, I'm excited. You gotta make sure you do it in the app like, on a overcast day or later in the afternoon because it can burn the leaves, I've found.
Yeah,
Yeah, because 'cause you're putting this fish goo on your plants, and so then if you have a hot sun, it will burn your leaves, so yeah. Fish emulsion or the seaweed.
yeah.
They have a seaweed feeder too. That's another it does the same thing. They're all absorbed through the leaves, and it has a huge impact on the production of your plants. So
Oh,
you wanna do that, like, shortly after transplanting is a good time or, like, a few weeks down the road, like, in advance of when they're gonna start producing their fruit.
yeah.
Um, I don't like to put it on things like lettuce when I know I'm gonna be harvesting it soon.
Ooh, this lettuce tastes like fish, right?
Okay, well, and then it always makes me worry about, like, salmonella or,
Oh,
you know,
right.
anything. I would hate to think that I'm feeding someone, something that they could get sick on.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Keep
yeah,
going.
my garden is looking good, and I'm glad I was able to slow down just a little bit this week. I couldn't, like, not go in the garden.
Yeah. Well, you've constantly impressed me by your ability to pivot and just to do what needs to be done next. And I know having to give the lambs up was a big thing for you.
Oh
And
my god.
you know, those who don't know, you might want to just remind them. But I know how much your heart was in that. And then when you realized you really couldn't do it justice, you decided to. But thankfully, you found somebody that you were happy to give it
That
to.
really mattered to me, and I asked him, I'm like, "What are you gonna do with them? How are you transporting them? What's the situation?" Um, yeah, I had to make the hard call to sell the sheep, and that was, like, a week and a half ago now, that they left, and, the first week I was really depressed, Tim. I was like there was some afternoons when I just laid on the couch and I was just super sad and miserable, and, when you get depressed, it just saps your energy, like, you're just too busy processing these emotions, and that's where I was,
Yeah,
and I'm not gonna deny it. Yeah, it was hard. My sister's moved away. My son is not interested in doing it. He's trying to get a full-time job. And then my hay farmer messages me like, I don't know, like a month early. And she's like, "Hey, we're taking hay." And I'm like, "Oh no."
I'm ready for that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like financially or like the financial aspect is one thing. I'm like, I probably could have like drummed up the money if I really wanted to. But realizing that I wouldn't have help moving the hay and that I really didn't have help, like, taking care of the sheep was, like, it just kinda hit me all of a sudden. But,
yeah, yeah.
now that it's happened and I'm kinda on the other side of it, I'm picking myself up, and I have so much more time in my day. This is crazy. I'm like holy crap. I didn't realize, like, how much energy it was taking out of me to be hauling water and just, making those twice daily checks minimum, and that's not even talking about moving fences or, sheep tractors or any of that, so
Yeah, yeah. I mean, sometimes changes have to be forced upon us, by the universe, and they it conspires for our good. And you have to keep reminding yourself of that because with the right attitude and love at the bottom of it, um, for everything that you're doing, it works together. And then on the other side, where you say you are now, you realize, what, there's some positives here that I can embrace now and just move forward.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that framing with, with love at the bottom of it. And I've always done everything for love because I feel passionate about these things. And it's funny that you talk about that the universe like sometimes forces our hand for our own good. And that's happened to me more than once, actually. I guess I'm probably a little bit, once I start on something, I'm like, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
sometimes we have to
Right down
change
to it, right?
gears. Yeah.
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 I mean, for me, it's been a physical challenge. I've got, some sort of something going on with my feet and legs. And so I can't stand as much as I do, but I can kneel. And one of the things I wrote about on Mile Wide is building a stone wall. And I did that on my knees, just
Oh,
lifting up and building out a small wall, repairing the wall that was already here. And while I was doing it, thinking about, the things that you adjust and adapt to become who you are and
mm.
become the new you if you let them. And I'm not saying I kicked and screamed about this because I was a very active runner and trail runner and hiker and you know
Oh, yeah.
much
Yeah.
less.
That's very hard.
Yeah, so there's a grieving that has to go on, but then you realize, yeah, I can still do some things and make a contribution, and keep on. That's,
Yeah.
you don't want to give up. So,
That's for sure. That's for sure. So, we're talking today about loss of skills and the struggles that it's caused, not just our generation, but like every generation behind us. Um, yeah. So, what are your thoughts on that, Tim?
um, right before we went live, we talked about, some things that we talk about are skills you think of, oh yeah, I can, I know how to build something or make something or repair something, but there's also skills about, playing, and
Yeah.
having as children, those skills children are losing to either screens or parents' lack of time, and also adult intrusion into children's lives. Just
Yeah.
get the heck out of my their way. But it's also a I can understand there's a hesitancy to allow your children to, be feral and run wild, but I think it's overstated, and I think it's, but it requires a courage on a parent's part to let your child just go out in the backyard, or even
Yeah.
walk to school without getting, you know, children and youth called on you. These two company children are walking to school, and things that I grew up with doing. I had a childhood where I lived in my head, in my imagination. I was a big reader, and I was one of the Hardy Boys, and I was making things and
Oh,
thought,
yeah. I'm reading Nancy Drew.
yes, you do, right? Same guy. Um, um, and I could create my own world, but I see that I'm not sure that happens. So that's one thing that children don't have the ability, the time, or are not allowed to do that. And sometimes it doesn't look like they're being productive, and that's the whole point, you know, when you think about it, right?
Right.
And one thing that we talked about also beforehand was as a grandparent now, I think that's a major role that a grandparent can have for a child is to keep I call it whimsy, and I had an article that I wrote about a snowman and, to just keep that imagination and that whimsical part of this world, the wonder, to keep them wondering and keep them a little bit off guard, when you say stuff to them. Um, Make it a little goofy that they really don't know what you're saying right now. They don't know if you're true, if what is Pop just kidding me again? That's not a bad thing for kids to be a little unsure and to check it out before they
Well,
you know,
it gets the mind working, right? Yeah, you gotta think about these things, which
imagine.
is good for their critical thinking ability, I would imagine.
Yeah, it sharpens, don't take everything at face value. There's a lot of skills that, do. And then when it comes down to some other skills, there's no tools around. The tools used to. tool shed, and we had some, and I accumulated some over the years. But I don't know if you grew up with on a farm, but um, most of the stuff you did by yourself. You didn't call someone or do it. You figured
Yeah.
out how to do it. I don't know if
Well,
you're.
yeah. Well, I didn't grow up on a farm, and my dad was very traditional, so I wasn't exposed to tool skills. And my mom didn't really like anybody in the kitchen, so I wasn't even exposed to kitchen skills. Like I did I remember doing dishes.
Yeah,
I didn't get to do the mow. I wanted to mow. I would rather mow than do the dishes, but my brother got to mow and I had to do the dishes.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
well. Thankfully, a lot of
Um,
those lines are blurring now. I'm so thankful for that. Because anything you can do, we can do better. You can do better.
I'm a big advocate for tool skills, and I've always tried to expose break tag. I'm like, here, you try and use this hammer to do whatever the thing is, or let's use some tools. And even if it doesn't go well, like I'm still learning. Like I said, I didn't grow up that way. I've had to pick it up because no one's going to do it for me. It's just me. So if I want something done, either I'm going to figure it out or it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Um, when I was doing the school garden program last year, the kids loved it because I would let them use the tools. Like the other teachers, and they had some volunteer moms who would be there. You should have seen the looks they were giving me, Tim, because I let the kids use this battery powered hedge trimmer. It's fairly safe. It's long, right? And it's got those blades, right?
Yeah,
It out in front of them, and I was right there behind them.
I get it.
So, you can cut down these dead, it was the end of the season. We were cleaning up the garden thing. I'm like, just take it and go like that, and they loved it. Yeah.
That's a
And
sense.
I was I was nervous about it. I'm like, these are other people's kids. But at the same time, I'm fairly confident most kids are not being exposed to tools.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the idea. Oh, I need someone to show me how to use it. Yeah, we've given ourselves over to the experts, and I cannot stand it. And it's a big thing. We need expertise. I'm not saying you're not expertise at what you do, but to consider experts as the only key to the ability for you to do something is completely foreign concept to me. And
Yeah.
to dive into something and figure it out as you go along, that also is something that's being lost because if you cannot produce a result that looks polished and I mean, not only Substack but all the platforms are inundated and with the
Perfection.
yeah perfection and influencers,
Yeah.
and you don't see the setup behind that or any of that. And I'm just looking for some authentic people who fail, try again, come back, try again, and eventually figure it out for themselves. And that's a skill in itself it's a mindset, that
Mhm.
we don't have, or that's being lost anyway. So,
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I definitely learned how to fail.
and not be afraid of failing. I guess that, no one likes to fail, but
No, it doesn't feel good. It kind of sucks, but you learn a lot, right?
yeah, right. And you tend to remember the crappy times in your life and how you came through those way more than you remember the high points and the peaks.
Yeah, I tell myself I'm building character.
Yeah. Remember when I was eating macaroni and cheese for 3 years when I was going to school? Yeah, this is
Ramen noodles.
funny. Ramen noodles. Yeah. No.
Yeah, and there's a lot of skills that we're losing, and it's not just the tool skills for the garden. It's all the skills we need for cooking our food and preserving food and and definitely the fix. Like you hardly see any carpenters anymore, right?
Right. Yeah. And automobiles. I used to do a lot of my own automobile work because you could,
Yeah,
now, it's behind us all these electronics, and
yeah,
in some ways, that's completely intentional because it removes it from, those who could do it themselves.
yeah.
So, it's a different world for sure, and there are some constraints about that, but there's still chances and opportunities for you to get your hands dirty and dig into something new and try something new. I'm glad to see a resurgence in the VOTEC system. It seems like there's a lineup now here around me to get into VOTEX. There's a waiting list, which never used to happen. It used to be,
Nice.
you know, 4 years of college, and which I think can be completely wrong move for a lot of kids. But a VOTEC program, oh yeah, all the time, all the
Mhm.
time, you know. So that's cool.
So let's see, where are we at? We're at 3:21. If anybody who is watching has any questions for Tim or I, feel free to drop them in the chat.
Some friends up
And
there.
thank you to everybody who has joined us. Hey, Liz.
Hi, Liz.
She so glad to see you two on here. We love you, Liz. Love that bright smile, Sam. Yeah, I can't help it. It's later in the afternoon. I made 3 weeks without drinking, and now I'm having my afternoon beverage.
Yeah.
Plus, I'm gonna play the banjo, so I needed to grease the wheels a little bit
You know,
and play the banjo in front of
yeah,
everybody.
that's a great idea. And then I realized, oh, wait a minute, I got to polish something off here. That's pretty funny. So we'll see how that goes. Talking about so
I'm sure you'll blow me away. Okay, what else do we got to say, Tim? Oh, we were gonna talk about the Grange movement.
oh yeah. I wrote an article about the Grange movement because in Pennsylvania, which has some of the largest population of Granges in the country still, and they still have one of the original picnics, they call them, the Grange Fair that happens in Center Hall out near State College every year around August. And there's families that have been coming there for over 100 years every August. I think
Wow.
and they have a platform and they'll put up either a canvas tent or bring an RV. And these families reunite and they have rodeos, they have contests, they have I think I've never been to that one, but they have cookouts and just they share and swap knowledge. And the,
Wow.
the Grange movement itself started after the Civil War, 1867, when President Johnson realized that the Southerners they were decimated. A lot of the farmers were killed in the war as
Right.
went north. It took a big toll on them. But also think about they were the original one of the original monocrops, right? I mean, cotton for them, they tried to grow all the cotton to satisfy the insatiable demand for the North. And it was just about the time when machinery was starting to catch on and that we were starting our expansion. So there was a lot of pressures um, on farmers. So he decided that we need to get these folks back up to speed so that they can grow their own food and provide for their families. And they didn't have the skills. They didn't to do that. So he created a board and hired appointed one gentleman to do that, and he assembled 8 others, including one woman. And he insisted on that. It was actually his niece, but she was on the board. They were one of the original founders of the Grange movement, and that carries over today. The Grange halls require the bylaws require, I think, at least out of 10, four have to be women. So
Awesome.
yeah, which is kind of unusual for the time. It was before they had the right to vote, even.
Yeah. What was his motive, do you know, for having his niece on the board?
The well, the woman who we appointed said, it's important for us to have a woman's voice because, women do a lot of the work on the farms, and
Mm.
she understood, what it really takes is not just to plow, but there's a whole bunch of other stuff after the plow is put away. What do you do with the food? How do you feed people? All that stuff. And, when a guy doesn't know which end of the skillet to hold, and comes in waiting for a meal, you realize pretty quick how important women are to farm life, and
Yeah.
any farmer worth his salt will tell you that. And
Well, women were even doing a lot of the bookkeeping.
yeah, true. Yep, they're keeping track of the money. They're doing that, and so the Grange movement also was a response to the pressure of the railroad barons who were trying to control everything. They already had the railroads, and farmers were shipping their grain, and it had to be stored. And so they were charging exorbitant prices to store that grain to move it to market. So Andrew Johnson, and the rest of the Grangers at the time realized here we can make an impact here by breaking the stranglehold on that. So they were very helpful in getting legislation passed to not allow that to happen anymore. And as they became bigger and they gained some traction, uh, things like rural electrification um, was very important. And then so it peaked in the early 1900s and it's tapered off. It's tapered off. It never really caught on in the South. The Midwest still has a fair number. Northeast is very big still with Grange halls, but the original intent of I think it could use a revitalization of some way. When I was talking to one of our friends on here, Adam Cohen, who is talking about food hubs. I mean, these Grange halls were community centers. These were people
Yeah.
not only met there to eat, they met there to learn, and people would come and teach them how to use these new tools. And they would share recipes. They would share what's growing, what's not growing. They would share and swap seeds. So there's a lot of potential still for that idea. And it was set up as a brotherhood. And their motto was in essential things, unity, in non essential things, liberty, but in all things, charity. And in other words, we're allowing you to do what you want, but in the essential things, we have to be aligned. The
Mhm.
non-essential things, you go off, do your own thing. That's fine. Doesn't really matter. But in all things, if someone's doing something different from you, be loving and charitable towards your neighbor and friend. So, that really struck a chord for me when I was writing about that and saw that, things like that. And then out of that, other organizations, I don't know if you ever involved with 4-H or Future Farmers of America
Yep.
or any
I've
of
done 4-H.
cool. So, they have their own place and they're a little slightly different, but it all still teaches some of those skills and crafts that we still need, I think, especially now when people realize that the food has been taken from us, has been processed above beyond recognition and back to us so that we get sick. And so that becomes part of, the machine and, that just fries my butt. So,
You're not the only one, sir. Oh my goodness. No, while you were talking about the Grange and the revitalization of these skills, like I just attended a meeting earlier this week. We're seeking to establish a food council for Somerset County. We don't have one. And so, of course, they thought of me. Sam will know. Excuse me. Um, but it made me think that, like, that's a resource. Like, we have a lot of Granges still in action up here in Maine, yeah, and
yeah.
so that's a resource that we could be tapping in because they all have kitchens, and if they don't, like, if they're not up to code, there are funds available that could be bringing them up to code so that the communities could use those to be sharing those skills just like the Granges were intended for.
Yeah, and they have refrigeration, they have kitchens, so it could be expanded and used to store some of the items, and people show up, and one of our comments says, "And dances." She said, "My parents met at a Grange dance." Grange Hall. That's so cool, you know? Yeah, so
Yeah, when I was the market manager for the Madison Farmers Market for a good 6 years, and we did a farmer talent show one year to raise funds for our farmers market, and we had it hosted by the East Madison Grange over here, and that was a fantastic. I'll have to share some videos for I still have some, I think, somewhere.
right.
Um, but we did actually attract, like, a number of different 'cause I was still working at Johnny's at the time, so I had a lot of connections, and so I, like, put up flyers at the office, and I recruited people to come, and so we had one older gentleman who just came and told a story.
Oh,
Like, that's another skill that we've lost, right? Just,
good.
like,
Yeah, absolutely.
storytelling.
Storytelling. Yeah.
So to have someone come and, like, perform and tell a story was really moving.
Yeah, I
Right.
mean, they each have a name for them, they call them Shanakis, and, my dad was sort of one. He used to go around just humming and singing little ditties, and sometimes they never end or a beginning, but he always had this tune singing, and he taught me songs about Johnny Beck's machine, and they're all ground up as sausages, and oh my goodness, some of the stuff. If I brought them up now, people, yeah, it wouldn't be PC. But the the idea that these things are passed down by an oral tradition, is so important, and kids love to listen to stories.
Yeah.
How we learn. You know, I read a quote by Ursula Le Guin. She said, "Fantasy is not fact, but it's true." And the idea that these things are myths doesn't take away from the veracity or the truth of them. It just points to a deeper truth that they're trying to get us to realize. So we tend to minimalize them and go, oh, they're just myths. They're no longer useful.
There's
But
a story there.
there is a story there, and they're usually tied to the land, they're tied to animals, they're tied to the cycles,
And
tied
human nature.
to nature, that doesn't change. Those
Yeah.
things and thankfully, I think there's a resurgence in interest in that, and it's all ties back together to the land, you know, and how important a piece of land is, and not just what physically it is, but what that then encourages us to do. And as Christine, who you had on, she's a rancher in Texas, to notice what regenerative agriculture does, and I'm just starting to dabble in that, and to look at weeds not as your enemy, but as what they're trying to tell you about the soil. To me, that was an eye opener for me. I always tried to pull them up and get rid of them, but now I got purslane all over the place here. I've got this something called horsetail moss. And Tanya on here also mentioned that it's a silica, and it can help with some of the tomato blight, or some things going on with tomatoes that it replaces. So I'm trying to listen more, to this land, and so but it's all good. I just wish I had another 40 years to do it, and I wish I had found it earlier. But
But you're here now.
we're a different person then. So
Yeah. No, I hear you. It's a long journey.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And speaking of the land and what the land can do for you, I'm celebrating my 8-year farm anniversary this weekend. I'm so
Nice.
excited.
Oh,
Yeah,
that
I think this is the longest I've ever lived in one place.
oh, that's
So
really good.
my family moved around a lot when I was a kid, and
Yeah,
even once I got married, like I think we moved every 5 years for a couple of years there, and then I was landless. I was a landless farmer for a while. The only reason I was able to farm at all is because everybody wants bees on their property if they don't have to tend them.
yeah, true. Right? Give me the honey, but don't give me the sting. Okay.
Right. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm pretty grateful, and I'm looking forward to. I think I'm gonna make a pineapple upside down cake.
Oh, yeah. You were saying you were looking for suggestions. That is
Yeah.
absolutely a good idea.
Yeah, and it kind of suits me, right? It's like a little bit upside down and messed up.
Upside down, yeah. But the best part's on the bottom. Flip it over. Now it's the top.
Yeah. Uh, well, we're at 35 minutes. Do you want to go first, or should I go first on this banjo adventure?
We're ready for banjos already. Oh my goodness.
Are
Yeah.
we? You want to
Uh,
cover any other topics while we're here?
Do I? Yeah, let me just mention, there's one thing I want to read, and it's from a book I'm reading. I don't know if I think you're a big reader, right? You like to read.
I try to keep a habit.
Yeah. Um, I found this quote in a book that I guess was really popular. It's called Theo of Golden. The guy's name is Theo. Golden is a town in the South. So it's Theo of Golden. And he asked the question in the book, what's good art? And this is why it struck me. He says, yeah, I thought about it. In fact, I thought about it a great deal. It might not make a lot of sense, but for anything to be good, truly good, there must be love in it. I'm not even sure if I know fully what that means, but the older I get, the more I believe it. There must be love for the gift itself, love for the subject being depicted or the story being told, and love for the audience. And here's what got me. He said, whether the art is sculpture, farming, teaching, lawmaking, medicine, music, or raising a child. If love is not in it, at the very heart of it, it might be skillful, marketable, or popular, but I doubt if it's truly good.
Wow.
That choked me up. And because I think get rid of the Hallmark card idea of what love is. Love is just being able to look at someone and recognize them. Look them in the eye and say, "Yeah, you're here. I see you." You know, so a smile to somebody in the supermarket who looks like they're having a horrible, no good, very bad day. You just smile at them and be seen. And that's all you need. And the idea that farming can be an art, think about art has been taken out of the mainstream and become something that you have to curate and have to be excellent and have to be an expert at.
Right.
What's good art? He's just saying, the hell with that. Everybody's an artist if love's at the bottom of it. So, I just wanted to leave that.
I'm
That
glad you did. Yeah.
maybe,
Yeah. And I really like that. And like I said, I've always done everything with love and for love, and it
yeah.
served me well. Yeah.
Go on. I know you love the land, and I know you love what you're doing, and
Yeah.
so
Do people respond to that, you know? And you're right, when we go to the supermarket, like, I'm a smiler. I'm one of those people who I'm like, I'm gonna walk past you in the aisle, I'm gonna say, "Excuse me," I'm gonna smile, I might talk to the little old lady while I'm waiting in line,
yeah,
and that you don't know the impact that has on the people around you just to bring that kind of energy with you wherever you go.
absolutely. And there's so many lonely people out there.
Mhm.
It could be the only smile they had that day, or for the week, for that matter.
Yeah,
So
and life is hard, right?
yeah. So I guess I'll go. This is a um. Oh, I'll just play. Can you hear it?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I'm not doing it.
I love it. I love it. I love the cadence.
Yeah, yeah. Let me try it again.
Do it again. You got this.
All right.
What is the name of that song, Tim?
That's called Twin Sisters.
Oh, okay.
And it's in a different tuning, which I'm just, this is my first song on with Clawhammer, and
Yeah.
it's a different tuning, which is pretty
What's
cool.
your name?
Sawmill tuning.
Oh, I love sawmill tuning. That's what
Yeah.
you play Cluck Old Hen in.
Oh, there you go. I got to learn that one. I saw that on the list. Oh, look at
That was really fun to play. I used to like to sit in the chicken coop and play it for the chickens, but I am not gonna play that today. I don't like, I used to be able to play that one really well, and I don't have all of it anymore.
yeah.
So, I'm gonna play Angeline the Baker, and hopefully I won't make anyone's ears bleed. Let me know if you can hear me. Excuse me.
Nice. Yeah. Good job.
That happens to be the song that we played in the Farmer Talent Show. So the guy that was teaching me that I was working at Johnny's with, when I put out a message to on Facebook that I was looking for a banjo. I think I had just gone through another breakup, and I decided that I feel like breakups and, you know, like selling the sheep, they're all like these big events where you get to kind of reinvent yourself, right? A little bit.
Yeah.
And so that particular breakup, I decided I was going to learn to play the banjo. And so I put it out there that I was looking for one and I would trade a farm share for it. And one of the higher up commercial salespeople at Johnny's actually had one. And so he traded me his banjo.
That's it.
And so then I had this banjo. I thought I was going to learn the scrug style, right? The picking one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then my friend, Ken Han, he messages me and he's like, Sam, I heard you got a banjo. I'm a little offended that you haven't brought it over to see me. And I'm like, oh no, Ken, I'm so sorry. When should I come see you? And that was how I got roped into learning clawhammer.
Nice.
So I took like weekly lessons with Ken, and his wife also worked at Johnny's, Kamala, and their daughters play the violin and fiddle. And they are so fantastic. They go to like a music school and they've gone to school for a lot of music. And they're just amazing musicians. So I got to be in that household for a while. And yeah,
Well,
that's
that's
my
yeah.
band.
I love the clawhammer when I first saw it. I said, "How are they making those notes out of that?" Because you can't see a lot of what's going on, and
Right.
left hand is doing things. And wait, where are those notes coming from? So I'm hoping I get a lot better, and I'm going to stick with it. And uh, because music's important for me, but I've never given it the time it's needed to become really good at it. So I'm hoping that this time I'm not just an inch deep on music. I hope I get a little deeper.
Same. I keep picking it up. I go through phases, and it's usually after, another life event when I'm like, okay, I need to be doing my music, and it really is. For first of all, it's like refreshing,
Yeah.
right? You sit down and you feel like you can be having the worst day, and you sit down and you pick up your banjo or whatever instrument, and you are putting yourself into that, and it's just clarifying and refreshing. But also it's like I think it works really important skills in your brain and then like your physical like coordination skills, which I am not the best at. But
Yeah, yeah. No, all that is true. All that is absolutely true. So,
well, Tim, how can people find you if they want to subscribe to your Substack?
um, Grange Hall is out there. That's one that I moderate. It's more of a contributory site. I once in a while I'll post original content there, but that's really meant to cross post other writers on here.
I have not been using that enough. I apologize.
That's okay. And, if anyone out there wants to highlight an article, um, I cross post so that your name and the link to your site is always there. And then I usually include a little blurb after I've read it why should you read this? What's great about this? Bring up a point or two. So that's Grange Hall. And then Mile Wide and Inch Deep is the one I started with. And that's when I began to play around with some writings. There's some poetry on there. There's some fiction. There's some very, very short microfiction, it's called. There's some really weird stuff, weird stories that come out of my brain. And, you know, uh,
I like that you have a diversity.
yeah, it's a diverse collection of my inner thinking. But and there's a couple historical. There's an article in there about the Great Molasses Flood.
I
That,
liked that one.
yeah,
That was really fascinating. Like people died in that.
yeah, it happened in Boston. In the 20s, I guess. So something I never know what's going to strike my fancy. You know, Put something out there so they can find me there as well. Mile Wide Inch Deep.
Perfect. Yeah. And I'm hoping that Helen Freeman has the Ag Stacker Roundtable back
Yeah,
next month. Yeah, I've been missing those.
we had Liz on there once. Adam was on there once. And Al, um, Al Knock showed up. One of my
Yeah,
heroes.
and Cheryl,
Yeah. So
the Queen of Markets. All
yeah.
right. Well, hopefully everybody knows where to find me at runamuckacres.substack.com or the main Homestead Life. And what do we have coming up? This weekend, I will be publishing a post about life in Maine. It'll be talking about the my experience at the recent local food council meeting and their efforts to bring a food council to Somerset County. And yeah, pretty quiet here now that I've got the truck squared away. And like I said, I've been sick, so just focused on the garden and the farm,
So
which is
now
nice.
is now the time you start to plant for the fall. This is the second planting season now.
Yeah, I've got my brassicas actually under lights here in the house, so I kind of got carried away with the broccoli, so hopefully I can get some of the locals to take some of that off my hands. Buy one, get one.
Yeah,
Come get-
I might take a stab at some things like that because I got some space now that I cleared out some room from some of the early stuff. So
Yep,
um,
yep. Do second sowings of beans and cucumbers. Swiss chard grows well through the summer and is a relatively cold hardy. I like kale in the fall for my soups, so I've got that growing under my lights. Um, yeah,
can you
any of
start
those short things.
start it from seed. Can you start or should they be seeded already?
Um, the
Yeah,
brassicas I started in the house and I'll put those out as transplants, but everything else you should be able to do as seed.
like Swiss chard stuff like that.
Yeah,
Oh,
definitely.
all right. I'll give that a shot.
Good. Well, all right, Tim. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been really great to talk to you.
And Sam, thank you for the chance to sit down and chat with you. It's been great. Thanks.
Good. All right, you take care.
Bye.
Bye.